Thank you very much, Dr. Nungu and COSTECH, as well as HDIF, for hosting us for the webinar today. I'm really pleased to be here on behalf of the UK government and talking on behalf of development partners about the report. I'm not going to speak for long, but I wanted to highlight two kind of big messages from the report, I think, and then three kind of reflections that made me have on our role as development partners. And perhaps what that means we need to be doing more of or doing differently. And I would love to hear others' reaction to that as we come into the panel and the discussion. So as for the kind of two big messages that really struck me from the report, the first is just again what a fantastic performance this is for Tanzania, and just enormous congratulations to everybody involved in this in the ecosystem. So with COSTECH's leadership. But everybody, from the innovators to those who are involved in the hub spaces to those involved in the programming side. Not only we've heard Tanzania has jumped several places again to 88th place, this is continued year on year. There's been this continued progress. So I think we can kind of take heart that this is a trend that we're seeing in Tanzania. And I was just so impressed to see that Tanzania ranks first of all low-income countries on the index this year and fourth in terms of sub-Saharan African countries. And I think we really need to take time to celebrate just how impressive that is. Like, I think if you were to ask somebody on the street or who's a little bit involved in global innovation, where globally in Africa do you think would be the kind of top performing spaces in terms of innovation? Probably you'd hear things like maybe Nigeria, Rwanda, but actually you see Tanzania is the country that's up there. So South Africa and Mauritius, I think, have joined first, then Kenya, then Tanzania. That is incredibly impressive, and it also, very much reflects my own anecdotal experience from being a partner of the Tanzania innovation ecosystem for the last 3 years now. I think you do increasingly see, people are on top of their game, and there's real energy, excitement. We see that every year in Innovation Week. The numbers of people who are coming out to get excited and to collaborate on innovation is incredible. So my number one message is just massive congratulations to everybody for this fantastic achievement. The second thing that I wanted to pick up on from the report, and it's not so much in the Tanzania report, but globally, just what a year 2020 has been, and the impact that's having on innovation, and the impact that innovation is having on our current circumstances. So I think, we've seen in 2020 so many people from across different sectors, be that the health sector in response to COVID-19, the education sector with the closure of schools around the world, recognizing the potential of innovation and technology in a way that we haven't seen it to such a degree before. But equally, and it comes out really strongly in the global report, the global economic consequences of the COVID pandemic and what we're seeing are likely to have an impact, a concerning impact on financing for innovation. So it's really, I think, an imperative for all of us to think about how do we take this moment in terms of innovation for Tanzania? How do we take the opportunity of the increased global recognition of the value of innovation technology, but also the reality in terms of the potential impact on financing? So those are my two observations on the trends, and then briefly three things in terms of what it made me think of as a development partner. So I think as many of you will know, as the UK, we've been partnering with Tanzania on innovation for the last sort of 7 years. We've invested about £40 million in the innovation ecosystem through the HDIF programme, and that's coming to an end next year, and we're moving as development partners really to a new phase of partnership with Tanzania on innovation. So it's also a really relevant time for us to reflect. And as I say, the kind of three reflections I had, one was, I think there's more that we could be doing as international development partners with our international networks and connections to really champion Tanzania as an amazing space for innovation, to really help that story get out there of the incredible kind of consistent progress that Tanzania is making on innovation, and on the, you know, what an exciting space this is. I note particularly that Tanzania's strong performance comes around creative exports, and you see that living in Dar. You know, you see the creativity and the energy, and I think, you know, just doing a little bit more of championing and communicating that globally is something that I'd like to see us more as development partners picking up on. The second thing, and as CR you've covered, the theme of this report this year is around finance. Let me get the phrasing right. Who will finance innovation? And I think we're, as development partners, you know, we're conscious that in Tanzania, we're very keen to be supporting and financing partners of innovation, but there's pros and cons to that. You know, as development partner finance, we're keen to be there as supporters of the ecosystem, but, you know, equally, when you come in with financing, that also has an impact on the market and on the innovation space. So I think, you know, increasingly we need to be thinking about what are all the different parts of the financing landscape for innovation in Tanzania. How do we work together and collaborate more? How do we enable fora for that communication to happen? And I hope this conversation is part of that. To kind of not be separate streams, the development space and then the private sector space, but how do we look and map out how all of those things work together? So that was my second reflection. And then the final reflection was just how we also increasingly need to see innovation tied into every aspect of what we as development partners are doing, governments are doing, people are doing in their day-to-day lives. So integrating innovation throughout, whether it's our agriculture programming, our education programming, and similarly in terms of, you know, national development planning. I think we've all been talking about that for a long time. We're all making efforts towards it. But with, as I say, this shift this year of us all becoming much more comfortable with Zoom and webinars, I think there's a real opportunity to embrace the optimism about innovation and technology, and much more clearly bring our focus on innovation and tech into the rest of our sectors. So looking forward to kind of picking up on those conversations, hearing if you agree or disagree when we come to the panel discussions. And again, thanks very much everyone for hosting.